Nice buns, soft, fluffy, and ultra-low net carbs. Discover Hero Bread, the delicious, ultra-low net carb bread with incredible taste and texture. Hero Bread has 0 grams of sugar and is under 100 calories per serving. Plus, high in fiber with 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Order from hero.co now and get 10% off your first purchase with promo code AH10. That's 10% off with code AH10. HERO.co.
This is
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make it plain.
Get woke.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking a great deal about the For the People Act, about H.R. 1. Where is it? What is its status? We're also going to hear more about a great organization today. The very name, you say you can't judge a book by its title, but the very name of this organization, I choose to uplift because it sums it up and it is exactly what we need. EndCitizensUnited.org. EndCitizensUnited.org. And we're happy to have with us on Make It Plain today the president of EndCitizensUnited.org, Tiffany Muller. Tiffany, how are you?
I am good today, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you and happy to talk to you. We've got a lot to talk about and a lot that needs to change. First of all, the For the People Act passed the House. So
Yep.
what's next?
Well, just this week, the Senate officially introduced the For the People Act on the Senate side. And, this bill does, in my mind, 4 really simple things. It makes it easier, not harder to vote. It gets big money out of politics. It stops partisan gerrymandering, and it cracks down on the corruption that we're seeing in our system. All in all, it gives power back to the people. So next week is the very first Senate hearing in the Senate Rules Committee. And then in April, we'll see markup in the Rules Committee before it goes to the Senate floor.
So we know the Senate is kind of a different animal,
Yeah.
a little tricky. So give us the assessment. What's your what's the prognosis? Will the Senate do the right thing?
I feel more optimistic today than I ever have. And let me tell you why. We know that the American people are with us on this bill. 83% of Americans support this bill, want to see it passed into law. That includes over 70% of Republicans and independents. The only place that things like protecting voting rights and getting money out of politics are partisan is on Capitol Hill, where folks like Mitch McConnell are trying to rig the game so he can win elections. So I am more optimistic than I've ever been. And a big part of that is just that we know the people are with us. And we're seeing these attacks across the country on voting rights right now, right? 250 bills in 43 states that have been introduced. This bill, the For the People Act, would actually mitigate almost all of those. So we have to act. This is not just a nice thing to do. This is a urgent, critical thing to do in order to strengthen our democracy.
And if we're going to have a democracy.
That's right.
I mean, they have been transparent. We heard the attorney respond to Amy Coney Barrett's question in the SCOTUS hearing. Well, we have to do this to be competitive with the Democrats. What?
That's right.
I mean, that's, what more, and I'll be honest with you, Tiffany. I had Eric Boland of Press Run on with me the other day, and he's been pointing out how even some of the Beltway media is loath to call it what it is. They use nice terms like they never would call Trump what he really was, but they use nice terms like voting restriction, voting inconvenience. He's like, no, that ain't what this is. Voter suppression. There's no other way. Is it?
That's right. And it's aimed, as you know, disproportionately at communities of color. Because, and to your point, even in the SCOTUS case, the Republican lawyers were very clear. If people vote like they did in November 2020, overcoming all the barriers that they had to overcome, if they turn out like that, Republicans can't win elections. Now, there is another option. They could actually just change their policies and change their message so they were appealing to more people and actually could be competitive in elections. but they would rather rig the game through voter suppression, buying elections, and partisan gerrymandering in order to keep winning. And we're not going to let them. I mean, Leader Schumer has said failure's not an option here. We know failure's not an option. But for everyone listening, we need your help. You have to call your senators. They have to hear. If you have a Democratic senator or a Republican senator, they need to hear from you about how important this bill is. So you can go to endcitizensunited.org and we have a take action page and we'll get you signed up to email or phone call your senators.
Are you concerned that the lingering filibuster, which they also need to get rid of, that could be something employed against the For the People Act?
We know that that's what the Republicans are going to try to do, right? Mm-hmm. And it is just abhorrent that what they're doing in the states is utilizing any method possible to shove through voter suppression bills and then using this arcane procedure that's been primarily used to stand in the way of civil rights and strengthening and expanding what we mean about our democracy, to then make it to where we can't even respond to those attacks. That's not an option. So we welcome Republican support. We welcome 10 Republican senators joining for this bill. But if it's getting rid of the filibuster and making procedural changes to get this through, then that's what needs to happen. And we're seeing more and more folks come out and say that. I mean, even President Biden, just this past week said he would be in favor of going back to the talking filibuster. Whatever it is, we know that Mitch McConnell should not be able to hold up progress on every issue, and especially this issue, for the American people, just because he doesn't want to allow a vote.
Are Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema on message on this?
We are working to make sure everyone hears the echo and the drumbeat from their constituents. Both Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema were co-sponsors of the bill in 2019. Senator Sinema is currently a co-sponsor of the bill right now. So we welcome and believe that we'll have their support.
I should hope so. That's very important. When you're encouraging people to contact their senators, I think that's also very important too, because I think we know how everyone's attention span is, especially in this pandemic. What we saw in Georgia was unprecedented. Americans in general, not just Americans of color, people don't do special elections. If people, I'm sure you would agree, could be as energized for every election, not even just the national elections, but the local ones, things would be a lot different, a lot better. But so successful in November, so successful in January, I'm sure you'd also agree, we don't want people to go to sleep and think, oh, we're good, we won. No. Yeah. Can't stop. We need you to call your senators, because everything you thought we gained, ladies and gentlemen, in November and in January is up for grabs again. They want to take it all away. And remember, Tiffany, Republicans voted more mail-in ballot than Democrats. Democrats flipped it, and now they want to undermine mail-in ballots. It's unbelievable.
That's right. That's right. And you're exactly right. I mean, people overcame incredible obstacles, barriers, disinformation, misinformation to show up in record numbers in November 2020, and then again in Georgia in January 2021. And you're absolutely right. People don't show up for runoff elections or special elections, and especially not in those numbers. And it changes the face of our democracy. It changes who we elect. It changes what policies get to be debated. And so, yeah, we can't afford for anyone to go to sleep and think that we have this in the bag, because, again, these Republicans are trying to rig the game in any way they can to just win elections and to get back in power and to win back the House and the Senate. And, sometimes it feels, especially here in Washington, that the outcome is a foregone conclusion, right? And, the media will write about it, about what does or doesn't stand a chance in the Senate. And I want everyone to remember about what happened in 2017 when Republicans took the trifecta and said that they were going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It was a foregone conclusion that was going to happen. And instead, what people did is they organized. They would not be quiet. They made calls. They did emails. They showed up and did rallies. And what happened? We were able to get enough votes to actually keep the Affordable Care Act. So it matters. people's voices, people's advocacy matters, and it is how we actually change the outcome.
Is your mattress making noises it never used to? Or is it sagging, causing you to... Then it's time to get a new one. Get the best sleep at the best value with a Nectar mattress. Prices start at just $499, and you get $399 in accessories thrown in, a 365-night home trial, and a forever warranty. Go to nectarsleep.com.
In Citizens United, talk to us about that. That has been a thorn in our democracy side, continues to be. Tell us how we end that, what the bill does to do that. And, you know, is it fail safe against the Supreme Court?
Those are all great questions. So first, like you said at the beginning, our name is End Citizens United. We want to overturn that disastrous Supreme Court ruling. And for your listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with it, the Supreme Court ruled in January 2010 that money is speech and corporations are people. And it really let this flood of unlimited and undisclosed spending into our elections. It put a for sale sign on our democracy, and it said, if you can write the biggest check, you get the biggest say. And what's happened since then is we've had outside spending in the 20 years prior to Citizens United totaled $750 million. That's a lot of money. But in the 10 years since Citizens United, it's totaled $7.5 billion. The prices of elections have skyrocketed, and your voice is being drowned out. And it impacts every single policy we care about, from minimum wage to an economy that works for everyone, to voting rights, because we see dark money helping fund voter suppression, to everything else. So this bill, so the only two ways that we can overturn Citizens United are a constitutional amendment or the Supreme Court changing its mind and doing a new ruling. But this bill actually starts to chip away at the dominance of big money. It says you have to have full disclosure and transparency on election spending. We have to know where that money's coming from. And that's so important because we can't have accountability if we don't know where the money's coming from. It empowers small dollar donors so that candidates of color and women candidates can actually run and be competitive, and more people can have voice in our democracy. It shuts down coordination between candidates and super PACs. There's a whole lot we can do. There's a whole lot in this bill, and that just takes a vote of the Senate to pass this. So that's what this bill does.
That's great. We've got to do something about Citizens United. As
Absolutely.
We all know. And again, folks, I just want to put a finer point on what Tiff and I are talking about in terms of us not relaxing after our victories. I think some people too, Tiffany, got confused. They saw Republican governors and secretaries of state not succumb to Trump's demands. And people think, oh, well, that means that they're not so bad after all. But it's some of these same states and same people who wouldn't do what Trump asked them, but is still coming at this another way, like in Georgia and a lot of these states. So, folks, we don't be fooled by the politeness during November and January, because they immediately went back to work to try to undo a lot of the gains we got. Are there, and I'm glad to hear you feel Cinnamon Manchin will be with us. I hope they'll hold the line. Are there any specific target senators you can share with us that might be on the fence, even on the Republicans? I mean, are there any Republicans we can expect to even maybe cross over for this?
Well, we have to try. Look, we really do have to try. And so every single senator, whether they're already on the bill or not, needs to hear from you. And let me tell you why. We need it. You said earlier that it's really easy to lose attention right now, especially during a pandemic. Lots of crisis and important bills that are being considered. And so even within the Democratic caucus and folks who are on board and supportive, they need to understand that this is urgent, that this is critical, that this is a must pass bill. And that way they will make the political decisions necessary in order to pass it. But we're also going to try for Republican senators, right? Like Collins and Murkowski and Toomey, and we're going to try. But Mitch McConnell has made it clear that who he's siding with is the corporate special interests, the dark money funders, folks who are trying to suppress the right to vote, and he's trying to keep his caucus in line. So we have to make sure there are political consequences for them being on the wrong side of this issue. During the last election, we saw both Collins and Murkowski complaining about dark money. We saw them talking about that misinformation was wrong. Let's hold them to that. Let's hold them to their words, right? Those are reasons for them to support the bill. For everyone else, they still need to hear from you. We need drumbeat of concern.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And just also want to point out that you are working in coalition, in Citizens United, along with Let America Vote and National Democratic Redistricting Committee. And you all, if I see this correctly, are going to spend $30 million to help get this bill passed in the Senate, correct? You all going to buy ads or
Yep.
What's the approach?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. So in Citizens United and Let America Vote Action Fund, in coordination with National Democratic Redistricting Committee, just announced a $30 million campaign to get S1 over the finish line, because this is really a once in a generation opportunity. If we don't pass this bill now, we've seen what Republicans are going to do, how they're going to rig the system, and how they're going to try to take back power. So we're going to go all in, and we have grass tops leaders. We're hiring on the staff on the ground in key states. We have grassroots activation across the country, and we're going to do ads. The public needs to know about this bill. So we have digital ads, we have TV ads kicking off. And look, the other side is coming for this bill too. Heritage just yesterday announced a $25 million campaign to oppose this bill. So we know that they are also coming after this bill. So we need everybody's help to get it passed. But yeah, we're leaving it all on the field.
Speaking of voting folks consistently and making it a habit, when I see the name National Democratic Redistricting Committee, an organization I know well, that word redistricting is triggering for me, because folks, here's a reality check. We won the White House, kept the House, won the Senate, all of that. But we didn't do so well at the state house level. And that's where these decisions are being made from the census and the redistricting. We have to educate everyone as to that importance. This has got to be an annual ritual for us now, because if they're able to, that's the other trick, the other part of this too, Tiffany, if they're able to continue to manipulate redistricting in many of these states the way they have, they can gerrymander a lot of our democracy away too, can't they?
That's exactly right. Right now, Republicans hold the ability to redistrict 171 House seats, more than enough for them to be able to gerrymander their way back to the majority. And they've actually said that they're going to do that. They have been very clear about it. And every single election cycle for the last decade, they've actually had about 18 seats more in the House of Representatives than they should have based on the national vote because of gerrymandering. And gerrymandering is just one more way of shutting people's voices out of the process and not letting them have an equal say in our democracy. The latest analysis says that if redistricting goes the way it's supposed to right now, that Republicans will likely pick up about 6 seats. And that's more than enough to wipe out our House majority. It's one more reason we have to pass this bill, because it has independent redistricting commissions in it. And we can actually stop the partisan gerrymandering and stop the map manipulation, make sure that it's voters choosing their public officials and not the other way around.
This is huge. This is huge, folks. So we want you to get involved. Now, let people know what they need to do when they go to the website and what have you, and how they can get directly involved in mobilizing.
Well, thank you all so much for your interest and for your help. We need you. This is not the time to sit on the sidelines. This is the opportunity for us to take our democracy back. And so you can go to incitizensunited.org, and right up top, it will say, click here to take action to help us pass the For the People Act. And it'll take you to a page so that you can call your senators, email your senators, sign up for phone banks and texting banks that we are holding. And look, please do all of those and send it to 5 family and friends so that they do it as well. We need everyone's voices in this fight.
Absolutely. Tiffany, we appreciate you for joining us. You are amazing. InCitizensUnited.org is amazing and wonderful. folks, get involved. We can't sit on our hands. If we want to continue to be successful with the gains we just made, we've got to do this. Get in touch. Leave no senator ignored.
That's right.
Appeal to everyone, because they have to log those calls. They have to log those contacts, and they need to hear from you. We invite everyone to go to endcitizensunited.org to find out more. And as Tiffany said, tell 5 friends, tell everyone you can. We have got to stay mobilized and activated. Tiffany Muller is the president of endcitizensunited.org. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us on Make It Plain.
Thank you so much for having me today. It was very much a pleasure.
And we're here. So keep us, I don't do talk radio. I do radio. So if you need me to come back on and let's do some more mobilization.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We should do what everybody else. One day I'll call you. We'll do an Instagram live too. We'll do some stuff live on social media just to get folks mobilized. So let's stay in touch. Okay.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Tiffany Muller, everybody. endcitizensunited.org. Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, subscribe, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.
Looking for a new podcast to listen to? Here's what we love, courtesy of Acast Recommends.
Hey y'all, I am Amira Lawali.
And I'm Kirby Dixon. We are 2 young Black women, and we never see real, honest conversations with people who look like us talking about our community. So we decided to do it ourselves.
Girl, they gave us our own podcast.
A whole damn podcast.
The Table Is Ours is exactly that. Every week we'll sit down with Black actors, musicians, artists, writers, you name it, and we got it.
Oh, we go there.
Don't tell me my Black experience.
Yeah, there's a lot of Black women out there that aren't funny.
If I say y'all would say, oh yeah. I would say I made, you say my cash.
Subscribe to A&E's The Table Is Ours and get new episodes every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Acast recommends.
Be a barbecue hero with delicious, ultra-low net carb hero bread, buns, and tortillas. Soft and fluffy, high in fiber, and with 0 grams of sugar, up to 10 grams of protein, coming in at under 100 calories per serving. Oh, and did I mention they taste like their mouth-watering traditional versions? I mean, what's not to love? Use code AH10 for 10% off your first hero bread purchase at hero.co. That's AH10 for 10% off at hero.co.